Hi, I'm Duran, and I updated a 35-year-old Pee Wee Herman calendar for 2026. I want to share how I restored one of my favorite things ever, the 1990 Pee Wee Herman calendar. Now, for background, I love Pee Wee Herman. I've loved him all my life. I first saw his HBO special on a third-hand VHS tape sometime in grade school. I had the Pee Wee Herman watch with hidden compartments. I had a lenticular dancing Pee Wee cards. I still have a treasured threadbare Pee Wee Herman t-shirt, one of the originals. I have Talking Pee Wee doll, which my youngest brother tore out of the original box and secretly played with until it broke. Pee Wee candles, Pee Wee toys, Pee Wee films and television series, even the live movie premiere from MTV on my home media server that I watch from time to time. But my favorite bit of Pee Wee merchandise, one of my favorite things ever, was the Pee Wee Herman calendar from 1990. Now, I received this as a birthday or a Christmas gift in late 1989, and it was probably one of those, oh, it's a birthday and Christmas gift in one kind of gifts. It was incredible. Every month had a gorgeous glossy photo of the Playhouse cast and characters, and every single day was a unique illustration. Some days were silly, some honored strange anniversaries or told jokes or celebrated birthdays of Pee Wee's celebrity friends. There were ants that were always carrying around bits of stuff, Randy causing trouble, Knucklehead telling knock-knock jokes. There was just so much. And at a time when I was really exploring my own artistic styles, the chaotic maximalistic minimalism was really influential. Which brings us to 2025. I watched the wonderful Paul Rubens documentary this year, and recently, while trying to organize my basement, I stumbled across the box that had the remnants of that original Pee Wee calendar from 1990. You see, after each month had passed, I took that opportunity to cut up and reuse the art and imagery from the month prior, giving it new life. Photos went up in my school locker. I recaptioned a series of knock-knock joke frames for a Xerox zine I made. Soon I was only left with a few Tetris-like scraps from that original calendar that I carried with me through college, through my 20s, through family life, and whatever I'm in now. But otherwise, those remnants were out of context, out of shape, and out of time. I wondered if I could find an original copy of the calendar online. I searched eBay and Etsy, but none were to be found. But then I had an idea, an awful idea. Then I had a wonderfully awful idea. It started as a loose idea, but quickly got stuck in my head. Why, if I can't buy a new Pee Wee calendar for 2026, I'll make one instead. I searched and found a blog that had scanned wonderful, pristine copies of every page of the original calendar. His girlfriend had kept it in much better condition than I had managed, and they were perfect. Great color, the whitest whites, crisp edges. My God, it even had a watermark. I mean, it even had the original spiral wire. I downloaded these images and set to work. Could I? Should I? Would it even be possible? Could I update this calendar for 2026? I started by separating the sections of each calendar page into individual files. The photo at the top with the spiral wiring, the banner at the top of each calendar grid, the days of the week, and then finally the grid itself. These were saved out to separate PNG files, not GIF, which is pronounced with a hard G. Each banner had 1990 hand-illustrated in different lettering styles, often deeply integrated into the overall artwork. I took a stab at manually editing these first, juggling the paint stamp, lasso, brush, and other Photoshop tools, and I did this just long enough to get frustrated before having an idea. A wonderful idea. A wonderfully awful... Oh, it, you get it. To my surprise, Google had just released their new Gemini 3 Nano Banana. Say that 3 times fast. Gemini 3 Nano Banana, Gemini 3 Nano Banana, Gemini 3 Banana, Gemini 3 Nano 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 Flip. They had just released their new Nano Banana the day before. I brought the middle part of each banner in and had Google do some magic, rewriting the 1990 in every image with 2026. Many were perfect right out of the box. Some needed a little tweaking, and some just needed a little bit more tweaking. But then they all looked incredible. I updated the banners for each month, then moved on to the next and most foreboding task, the calendar grids. See, because most years don't have perfect multiples of 7 days, Each year, the days of the month shift a little bit. So January 1st might have landed on a Monday in 1990, but in 2026, it's on a Thursday or whatever. Well, I needed to find a way to rearrange the days of the calendar 3 squares forward so the numbers landed on the right days for 2026. I very briefly considered doing it by hand, realized I wanted to finish this project before 2026 was over, and came up with a different approach. I wrote a Python script that would analyze the image of each month, try its best to identify the hand-drawn, irregular edges of each square, isolate them, and then redraw the grid to match the new arrangement. It did okay, but it took a lot of manual cleanup and adjustment. It took into account the white space on the borders. I didn't code for that. So I needed to do plenty of selecting, moving, resizing, applying, etc. And then I also needed to go in and draw back in the missing borders and edges by hand that it had truncated or clipped off in its automation. Additionally, some days had fun little pains in the asses, like dates that floated outside the frame or arrows pointing between 2 rows. So I redrew these by hand where I could, or copy and paste them if I could do that. Later, I wrote another script that lets me drag the dividers around to select the squares properly. It works amazing. It's beautiful, but it was too late. I wasn't starting over again. Because the trailing squares at the end of the month would get shifted back to the beginning of the month in order to maintain the overall consistency of the grids, it often split some of the multi-frame jokes and gags in unexpected ways. They really ended up working out pretty well, though, sort of a time warp Pee Wee experience. The only thing I didn't do that I regret was adjusting a few of the squares for holidays which don't traditionally land on a specific date, like Easter or Thanksgiving. They didn't end up on the proper days of the week this year, but by the time I noticed, my OCD had expired and I was no longer invested in getting every little thing perfect. So I guess we're celebrating Thanksgiving on a Monday this year. I reassembled all the components together on layer groups for each month in Photoshop and exported each complete page as a full PNG. These were then assembled into a single PDF. I uploaded this design to an on-demand print services company to make hard copy calendars for myself, my friends, and my family as Christmas gifts this year. 25 calendars ran a little bit less than $400 after shipping and a discount code that I found. And they look fantastic. I'm so happy with them. I can't wait for January to arrive so I can put it up on my wall again. I reached out to the original artist, photographer, and some of the folks mentioned in the credits and offered them a hard copy and a thanks for creating my favorite thing in the world. I'm really thrilled to revisit a full year of Pee Wee Herman on my wall again. And I'm really happy to get to share that with so many others. I hope this inspires you to rediscover and cling to some of your past, refuse to abandon childish things entirely, and revitalize those things for a new era and a new audience. I think Pee Wee would have wanted it that way. Love you, buddy.